Interesting facts about the Bible, part 32. Did you know that the Anunnaki or Anunnaki are described in the Bible? If you don't know who the Anunnaki are, they are a group of deities worshipped by the Sumerians, Babylonians, and other Mesopotamian cultures. They are not called the Anunnaki in scripture, but are known as B'nai Elohim, which means sons of God. In Genesis 6, these beings had children with human women, and they created the Nephilim. We know that these are not just humans, as they created giants. Numbers 13 talks about the Anak that are giants and that they are descendant from the Nephilim, which come from B'nai Elohim. As I mentioned in my part 9, Deuteronomy 32:8 tells us that God separated the people out by their heritage, speaking about the Tower of Babel. He divided them by the number of B'nai Elohim, the same word used for the beings that mated with human women to create the Nephilim. When they built the Tower of Babel, it never says God destroyed the tower. It only says the people stopped building it. Many believe that tower was a ziggurat and it was Babylon itself, as some translations refer to the tower as both Babel and Babylon. The Babylonians worshipped the Anunnaki, the same beings that the people building the Tower of Babel were worshiping. God handed them over to the gods they chose to worship and divided them by the different B'nai Elohim, leaving Israel for himself. We can see that both the B'nai Elohim and Nephilim were giants. The Anunnaki were also giants. The B'nai Elohim came from the stars, the 1/3 of the stars swept from heaven by the dragon's tail, and the Anunnaki came from the stars. The Tower of Babel came from worshiping the B'nai Elohim. The Sumerians and Babylonians worshipped their deities and communicated with them in a tower called a ziggurat, a type of pyramid. Only the king was allowed to the top, where that particular kingdom's god would come down from the stars to speak with him. The people were divided by the particular god that they worshipped in a city-state, the same way God separated the people out of the Tower of Babel based on the B'nai Elohim that they worshipped. Many people only date our religion back to Moses' and Job's writings. However, before Moses wrote down his books, it is believed some stories were passed down through oral transmission. In a society that has writing, oral transmission might seem unreliable, but research backs that cultures that only use oral transmission were very reliable, as it was the only way for them to pass down information. That's why so many of the older books were written in poetry form, to make it easier to pass down. It's important to note that the Anunnaki are in a lot of media, and it's important to know who they are.